Can I respond to you? I said this was totally avoidable, and it absolutely was.
But it simply isn't, Alex, is it?
You listen to me. If that man wasn't in this country and he was detained and deported
Rhiannon
because he illegally broke into this country, answer the question yes or no, would Rhiannon White still be alive today? Answer yes or no.
If we had no tourists in this country, we would have tourists committing crimes.
Question.
It's a ridiculous question.
You said I'm making it up, that this was unavoidable. Answer the question, would Rhiannon White be alive today?
What you just heard isn't politics. It isn't a statistic. And it certainly isn't some abstract policy debate. It's the direct consequence of decisions made by people in power. A young woman is dead, a family is shattered, and everyone in that studio knows this didn't have to happen. This wasn't fate or bad luck. It was preventable. And when something is preventable, it stops being a tragedy and starts being a failure. Now watch carefully, because instead of accountability, you're about to see the excuses begin.
5-year-old boy, a sister, a mother, a father no longer have the beautiful Rhiannon White in their lives because a psychopathic asylum seeker hunted her down like prey, stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver and left her to die while he danced and celebrated his kill and then denied his involvement to the very end. This sounds like a 1 in a million event, one that we won't ever again see in our lifetime, but sadly, it is too common. I, yesterday, had a look and found 32 migrant/asylum seekers who had raped or murdered a UK woman or girl, from a 7-year-old stabbed to death in a park to an 87-year-old in her own home. And the staggering truth? Pathetic government, as they fall over themselves to provide a comfortable lives for these men, from cultures that often treat women on a par with dogs, to house them, to feed them, to care for their mental and physical health, whilst women can't walk home from work safe in the knowledge that there won't be a migrant prowling the street looking for some fun. And the reason they keep on letting these threats arrive every single day is that they don't live in areas where these men are housed. They don't work in jobs like Rhiannon did. They don't have to walk home in the dark after a late shift on lonely streets, and they don't let their daughters do any of that either. Their world is safe, cocooned, well enough yesterday. Why is it seen as abhorrent to demand that they be detained for the safety of women? Why must we have one more mother, daughter, wife brutalised or murdered in the name of kindness? It's that word again. No one was kind to Rhiannon. Enough. This isn't compassion, it's complicity. This isn't diversity, it's devastation. We demand our borders that now protect us. Safety first, no more blood on spineless leaders' hands. Rhiannon deserved better, we all do. Rest in peace, Rhiannon, and may your loss finally wake this nation.
Stories brought back up because, of course, we first hear of them, don't we? Then we go silent because there's a court case or a police proceeding.
And then we can't really talk about it.
We can't legally. Legally, we can't talk about it while there's an active case going on. And then when we get to these moments again and you hear the brutality that was committed against her, and you think, this could be avoided. Yeah. All we have to do is detain and deport people who arrive in this country illegally, and this woman would still be alive today. And that family are going to get a worse sentence than that evil creature ever will.
You said shocking. It's shocking, but it's not surprising for the very reason that you said, Renee, and that this is a choice that has been made by the United Kingdom government to prioritise international law over the safety of women and children. Now, these act people, and they are ultimately culpable, but I do wonder whether we need to start looking at this government as being criminally responsible, partly criminally responsible for these acts. They know that if they get rid of the ECHR and the Human Rights Act and they do what is necessary, you can stop these boats in a week. The Australian example proves that. When do we stop and say, this isn't just bad policy, this is evil and this government is criminally responsible and they have blood on their hands? I think that is how we need to start approaching this and how we need to start thinking about it.
Trey?
It is hard. I can't defend it. When I look at the details of that, it's so horrific that I think the only thing I would push back on is there's such a push to label all asylum seekers as somehow
I didn't label all asylum seekers.
I know, but I think that's what we get.
Listen to how the tone changes here. The moment the conversation shifts from theory to responsibility, the room gets uncomfortable. Because once you admit this could have been avoided, you can't hide behind process or paperwork anymore. It stops being a debate about policy and becomes a question of blame. And that's when people start scrambling, softening the language, trying to dilute something that is actually very simple.
Complete mental cases that slipping through the net because we don't know them, we don't know their background,
That's the
don't know
point.
their history. True, and I can't argue against that. You know, and I think what happened was unfortunate, but I just can't defend it. The details are so horrific with this.
But Kai, surely, Jay's point doesn't actually stand, because if we just didn't let anyone in, or we put them into locked detention centres until we know if they're suffering from some mental illness or they're going to be a danger, none of these women will be dead.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to push back maybe a bit more forcefully than Trey, if I may. The question at the heart of all of this is, how do you stop people being murdered? And the guarantee is that, Alex, you say, yes, because let me quote you back. You say this could have been avoided.
Yes,
you are selling
Selling
a lie. If tomorrow you kicked out every asylum seeker and every foreign criminal, every foreigner out of this country, the drop in the crime rate, yeah, you'd have an impact, but it would be negligible.
There are
hundreds of thousands of convictions and arrests in this country every year. We don't have the stats on the migration status of those people. Every single one of these cases is depraved, disgusting. This particular case is horrific. But to take that as the one example and extrapolate it out to make all asylum seekers and
There are 32
migrants...
Can I respond to you? I said this was totally avoidable, and it absolutely was.
But it simply isn't, Alex, is it?
You listen to me. If that man wasn't in this country and he was detained and deported because he illegally broke into this country, answer the question, yes or no, would Rhiannon White still be alive today? Answer yes or no.
If we had no tourists in this country, we wouldn't have tourists committing crimes.
Question.
It's a ridiculous question.
You said I'm making it up, that this was unavoidable. Answer the question. Would Rhiannon White be alive today? Yes or no, if that man was detained and deported?
Yes.
Right.
It was avoidable.
The idea that stopping migration magically solves all crime...
It would have saved one person's
exactly
life.
the implication of what you're saying. And Trey said that the implication of what you're saying is that all migrants are like this. That is exactly what you're saying.
Said that.
It's exactly what you're implying.
You said that. Hang on.
It's exactly what you're implying.
Trey, unfortunately, put that in our mouths. I didn't say that. Renee didn't say that. And Trey was out of order to have insinuated that either. Right?
Alex?
I said it was avoidable that this could have happened if this man wasn't let into this country. One person dying is one person too many, Kai. And when you lefties get that, this country will start healing. But you have to get to the programme. That's why you're all completely failing in the polls.
Because it's not true. Can I just come back on the measures that the Labour government has brought in to avoid this? The sensible measures.
I want to say something. I said very clearly in what I just said that, of course, we have men that murder and rape women in this country.
Yeah.
And those men are disgusting and we should deal with them.
Yeah.
We do not need to add to them. And just in the last 3 to 4 years, yesterday, I found 32 cases, convictions of rapes or murders. A 7-year-old girl was murdered in a park by an asylum seeker. She would still be alive today. Rhiannon would still be alive today. None of us said it's all asylum seekers, but if we can keep 7-year-olds alive by not having them here, then that should be done.
Can I just say,
no migration at all.
Kai, this is illegal migration. Stop.
But no migration at all is a nonsense argument, and you know that.
Stop. This is about illegal migration, not legal migration. We can have that conversation, but that's not what we're talking about here. Yeah. The point is, this is, I think what you said was pretty abhorrent, but at the same time, it is instructive to the way that the left thinks about this issue. And that is, it is all well and good to sacrifice a few people and a few children at the expense of like the UK being seen to be good global citizens, or so that basically people in the Islington bubble can say, well, we feel morally virtuous by letting people into this country.
It's not that at all.
It is a prioritisation exercise.
You are selling a lie to claim that would solve all these. Look, it's just not the same thing.
No one has said that, Kai.
It's much more complicated. And then the common sense policies that the government is taking now, getting rid of foreign convicts, foreign criminals being let out, being deported after 30% of their sentence rather than 50%. It's not, Alex.
You are shameless. What you are doing is twisting the words of what Renee has said and what I have said to spin a narrative that you can defend. You cannot defend this. And what Renee said was right. What I've I've said was right. If this man hadn't illegally broken into our country because there is too much incentive to be here, which Labour won't get on top of, and people like yourself will not listen to the pleas of people, working class people up and supporting the immigration policies of the left, are privileged, elite, wealthy people. Look at the polls up and down the country. This is impacting working class people in Wales, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and they've had enough. What they want is for the left wing to talk sense, to say, we understand this is putting... I've been out today speaking to people in Essex. They have children, little girls. Their parents will not let them walk to school by themselves. It is destroying their lives, and we're putting them at risk for what? For people that will never contribute, haven't contributed, have broken into this country illegally. We can end it. We can stop it. It's very simple.
This wasn't just another noisy TV argument or a bit of political theatre. It was something much more revealing than that. It was a room full of adults being forced to confront an obvious truth and still trying to dodge it. You saw it, you heard it, you felt the hesitation when a simple question was asked, would she still be alive? And the answer was yes. That one word destroys every excuse they hide behind. Because once something is preventable, it isn't misfortune anymore. It's negligence. This is a pattern, and people are finally waking up to it. Every time there's another victim, we're told to stay calm, to be balanced, to avoid blaming anyone. Meanwhile, families are burying daughters and parents are scared to let their kids walk home alone. Politicians sit in safe neighborhoods, protected from the consequences of their own decisions, while ordinary people deal with the risk. That gap between the public and the people in charge is exactly why trust has collapsed. This is why trust is gone. Not because people are angry or extreme, but because they're exhausted. Exhausted of being told their safety comes second. Exhausted of being lectured about compassion while their communities feel less secure. Exhausted of leaders who care more about looking morally virtuous than actually protecting the people they're supposed to serve. You don't need reports or complicated arguments to understand this. It's just common sense. If someone shouldn't be here and they harm someone, that isn't destiny, that's failure. It's the result of choices. And when leaders keep making those choices over and over again, people stop believing them. So ask yourself honestly, is this incompetence or cowardice? And would you trust people like this to run the country? If you're done with the excuses and you want straight, honest commentary, like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell, because we're going to keep calling this out exactly as it is every single time.